Rings of Power Season 3 may be about to break one of Tolkien's most important rules, and the new trailer is not being subtle about it. Sauron is forging the One Ring, the war for Middle-earth is escalating, and yet the most controversial reveal may be a single orc who appears to stand beside Galadriel and Arondir as an ally. Prime Video released the first official teaser at San Diego Comic-Con on July 24, 2026. The new episodes begin 5 years after the fall of Celebrimbor and Eregion, with Sauron using orcs, corrupted men, monsters, and other forces to conquer nearly all of Middle-earth. Lindon and Rivendell still refuse to surrender, so Sauron turns to the weapon that will define the entire age, the One Ring. That alone makes the season exciting. The show finally appears ready to move closer to the version of Middle-earth audiences recognized from The Lord of the Rings. The teaser promises larger battles, darker stakes, and a Sauron who is no longer hiding behind charm and deception. But then the trailer introduces Marnûkh. The teaser is narrated by a rough voice that sounds distinctly Orcish. We then see a new orc standing with Galadriel and Arondir. What is strange is not simply that he speaks to them, it is how comfortable they appear around him. Marnûkh urgently tells them to come with him, and the footage suggests he may be guiding them toward information about Sauron and the One Ring. Galadriel does point a sword at him in one scene, but later moments make their relationship look far more cooperative. Prime Video describes Marnûkh, played by Adam Young, as someone who may not be what he seems. That could mean he looks like a typical evil orc, but actually opposes Sauron, or that he pretends to help the elves while secretly leading them into a trap. Either possibility is interesting, but the first would be far more controversial. Season 2 already pushed the orcs into morally complicated territory. Adar wanted to protect his children from becoming Sauron's slaves, and the show also included an orc family caring for a baby. That moment divided Tolkien fans, but orc children do not directly contradict the lore. Tolkien wrote that orcs reproduced in the same general way as elves and men. The real question is whether orcs can become genuinely good in Tolkien's published stories. Orcs are consistently cruel, violent, and drawn toward evil leadership. They fear their masters, complain about orders, and sometimes want freedom from Sauron, but they never become heroic allies of the free peoples. An orc hating Sauron is not the same thing as an orc becoming Galadriel's friend. That is where Season 3 may cross a line the series has previously approached, but never fully crossed. If Marnûkh helps Galadriel and Arondir because he believes opposing Sauron is morally right, then the Rings of Power would be introducing a kind of character Tolkien never actually placed in the story. That does not automatically make the idea bad. Adaptations can explore possibilities the original author left unresolved, but the show needs to understand how complicated this question is. Tolkien struggled with the origin and moral nature of orcs throughout his life. Evil cannot create life from nothing in his mythology. Morgoth can only corrupt what already exists. That creates a problem for the idea that every orc is permanently evil. Yet Tolkien never answered it by writing a heroic orc who joins the elves. Instead, his stories emphasize the damage caused by generations of corruption. Orcs have lived under Morgoth and Sauron for so long that cruelty, fear, domination, and hatred have become the only world they understand. They may not be created as pure evil, but by the time of the Lord of the Rings, they are trapped inside evil systems. That is why Marnûkh could become one of the most important characters in Season 3. He may allow the series to explore whether an orc can recognize the system that shaped him and choose something different. The comparison with Gollum is useful. Gollum is dangerous, deceptive, and capable of betrayal, but he also becomes a guide because the heroes need knowledge only he possesses. Marnûkh may serve a similar role. Galadriel and Arondir may not trust him. They may simply have no choice. If Marnûkh knows where Sauron is forging the One Ring or understands the movement of the orc armies, then the elves may follow him while expecting betrayal at any moment. That version of the story would not necessarily make him good. It would make him useful, conflicted, and unpredictable. The strongest approach would be to let Marnûkh struggle with his motives. He may hate Sauron, want revenge for Adar, or help the elves only because their goals temporarily match. An enemy of Sauron does not automatically become a servant of good. But if Marnûkh simply becomes a noble companion who fights beside Galadriel because he has discovered friendship, the criticism will be justified. That would simplify Tolkien's moral universe instead of deepening it. The creation of the One Ring makes this debate even more important. Sauron is about to forge the ultimate instrument of control, a weapon designed to dominate the minds and wills of others. An orc who resists Sauron could become a direct challenge to everything the ring represents. Marnûkh may also expose Sauron's relationship with the orcs. The Dark Lord rules through terror rather than loyalty. And Season 2 showed that he had to break their resistance. An orc who survives outside that control would not automatically be good, but he would prove they are characters rather than a single obedient mass. The danger is that the Rings of Power has already divided Tolkien fans through major changes to the timeline, character relationships, and established events. A friendly orc fighting beside Galadriel could become the most explosive change yet, because it touches the moral structure of Tolkien's world rather than only its chronology. Still, Prime Video's description suggests the trailer may be deliberately misleading us. He may not be what he seems could mean Marnûkh is not an ally at all. He may be working for Sauron, guiding Galadriel toward a trap, or using the elves to eliminate a rival. The calm moments may be taken out of context, and Galadriel pointing her sword at him may be closer to the truth. For now, Marnûkh remains the biggest mystery of Season 3. He could be a traitor, a reluctant guide, an orc seeking revenge, or the first of his kind to actively choose the side of the free peoples. What is certain is that Season 3 is moving into the most important phase of the Second Age. A region has fallen. The elves are preparing for a larger war, and Sauron is creating the One Ring. The series now has an opportunity to become darker, more focused, and more recognizably Tolkien. But it is also taking one of its biggest risks by placing an orc at the center of the conflict. The Rings of Power Season 3 does not yet have a confirmed release date. I want to know where you stand on Marnûkh. Would a genuinely heroic orc violate Tolkien's world? Or could this be a thoughtful exploration of a question Tolkien himself never fully resolved? Because the answer may determine whether this character becomes the season's smartest idea or its most controversial mistake.